Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of March 20th to the 26th of 2023. Alright, so this week we have a new moon on Tuesday, and so it is the ending of the current lunar month as we approach Tuesday. Good to, of course, let the energies die down, do a bit of a reset and complete things from this month, and then around Tuesday and onwards, start to see what new things are starting to arise. The new moon will be in Sidereal Pisces, so it is a good time to connect more with our soul, connect more to the ethers, to what's important to us on a soul level in life, and perhaps a bit of that receptivity and going with the flow could be fantastic. We were a bit challenged with this last week when we had the sun here squaring up to Mars, or Neptune also squaring up to Mars as well. And so there was perhaps a bit of a challenge to work with the energy. But I think this new moon is starting a lot of an easier way of working with that energy, but it is still very similar in the sense that it is important to be receptive, let go of what's outside of our control as much as possible, and take that action and initiative in ways that are conscious and constructive, because the new moon will be still squaring up to Mars here. All right, and also speaking of Mars, Mars is finally leaving Taurus, where he's been since August of last year. And so when it has come to our actions and initiatives, it's been very much in the grounding sphere of things. It's been important to take things one step at a time, be very grounded in our approach to things. But this is starting to shift around Thursday. Mars will go into more curious and inquisitive Gemini. And so there is a beginning here, a shift of energy to more of this inquisitive learning, communication, maybe a bit of social energy when it does come to the more action-oriented sides of our life. Okay, no major aspects really. There's some minor ones. So let's go and take a look at this new moon, Mars going into Gemini, and these minor aspects here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here is the sky for this week. We're looking at this for March 20th through the 26th, 2023, and we're going to start first with Monday, March 20th, and we will look at this for each day of the week here. And as you can see, we are using the visible sky on this channel, which is very different from mainstream astrology. You will not see mainstream astrology using the visible sky because unfortunately they don't use that. So if you are new to this channel, and especially if you do hear me say things that are different placements from what you're used to, like for example this new moon in Pisces coming up, if you're expecting me to say Aries, definitely check out the link down below for more information on using the visible sky called True Sidereal Astrology. Okay, so just a bit of a recap to see where things are coming into this week. We still, of course, have a lot of this Pisces receptive energy that has just recently come into the mix over this past week when we had the Sun and Mercury enter into here and go over Neptune and square Mars last week. But we are going to start that new moon here in Pisces, so it is starting the new lunar cycle around this more receptive side of life, connecting more to our soul, the ethers, and again, living a bit presently there, soul guided there, but slowly implementing that energy for this lunar month. Venus is well set in fiery Aries, so when it does come to our enjoyments and values and relationships in life, there can be a bit of that fiery energy. So good for enjoying a bit of independence, assertiveness, action-oriented energy in those relationships as well. Venus quite close to the North Node can suggest some new beginnings perhaps this week, actually. If there's any intentions you want to set around developing what you enjoy in life and perhaps some of your new relationship kind of energy in life, this could be a great week for some of those developments and intentions around that, as the North Node does tend to be the things that get built along our future path. Mars finishing Taurus, going into more inquisitive Gemini this week. We'll talk about that'll be here around Thursday. Okay, so coming into the week, first of all, you can see there's no major aspects here. No major aspects here this week. We have a bit of that sextile to Pluto with the Sun, which is mainly just going to be part of that new moon. Minor aspect there. And then Mercury over Chiron over Sunday we'll talk about, but quite quiet, as you can see here with the aspects. But coming into Monday, we will have the moon leaving Aquarius and going into Pisces. And so again, wrapping up the previous lunar cycle, which was about Aquarius. It was a previous month of doing things that, speak more to our excitement, more to our true self, perhaps getting involved with a bit of innovative, forward thinking or collective matters, or group matters, which is often the case. So anything that's about closing that energy out or finalizing things in that context, I think Monday and even Tuesday are great days for finalizing that lunar month. We do have a bit of empowerment available on Monday with that sextile to Pluto. So there could be a bit of this willingness to do things we maybe normally wouldn't, such as facing fears, reclaiming power, our personal power, and expressing ourselves with the sun. So anything that is about that self-expression or focusing on things in that sort of empowering way, I think is a great way of working with that ending of Monday's energy of the lunar cycle. So Tuesday is the new moon. I will, of course, make a separate video, detailed video on specifically that new moon. But essentially what it is that energy we had last week where the Sun, Mercury, and Neptune were conjoined. These were all conjunct midweek last week. Perhaps it was a bit of a challenging week, actually, in terms of having to be more receptive, let go of what's outside of our control, and perhaps find healthy ways of asserting ourselves and taking action, which was that square to Mars. So the new moon is very similar to that in the sense that it is squaring Mars, it is conjunct Neptune and Mercury, but a lot of this is the post aspects, or in this case what would be called separating. So the aspects have already happened, the conjunctions with Neptune exact, the squares to Mars exact, and so it's definitely going to be on the easier side, not like last week. But in a sense, it's good to take what we kind of learned regarding last week's energy of being more receptive, more conscious of our needs and assertiveness, and doing that constructively. And I think any intentions around this for the new lunar cycle is great. But fundamentally, it is about, again, Pisces, Neptune. It's about receptivity. It's about doing things more important to us on a soul level in life, going a little more with the flow as best as we can, swimming with the current versus against the current. All right, this kind of stuff I think is the fundamental. And any new intentions you want to set around this Tuesday new moon is great. But again, just a good time to listen. It is the lowest energy of the lunar month and really of the year, if you consider that Pisces is a very inward sign. And so it does tend to pull things inward anyways. So just good to listen there. And an interesting synchronicity there is that this is going to be during the spring equinox on Monday. And so if we consider that the energy of the new beginnings of the year, I personally like to think of it more around the winter solstice, but in this sense of spring, or if you're in the southern hemisphere, then the fall, but the shift of the new beginnings and new energy of the seasons. And so in this case, setting some new intentions to start to incorporate new things into our life or for the year or for this season, I think is fantastic with this new moon. Okay, so that's the Monday, Tuesday time period. We'll probably start to know slowly the energy building for the lunar month as we slowly get into the rest of the week. The moon will be in Pisces all the way up until Friday, the later part of Thursday. And so pretty much this whole, Monday through Thursday time period will be particularly emphasizing that watery Pisces energy. But once we do get to the Friday time period, the moon will go into that fiery Aries energy. So it'll be good to incorporate a bit of that fire that, again, we can already be this whole week enjoying and connecting to life and to others in that way, in that independent, assertive, fiery way, because Venus is here. But when we do get to about Friday, seeing how we can incorporate some of that into also the receptive, right? And this is where these signs are very different. And so it is about receptivity. But as we slowly build the lunar month, of course, that facilitates more and more action, and, in this case, incorporating some of that action and fire and, initiative with things while still going with the flow and whatnot. And this is likely to, bring out the Mars energy as well, because Mars is shifting into Gemini around this time, around Thursday. It is a bit of a subtle energy, especially because there's quite a gap between these constellations of Taurus and Gemini in the sky. But it is transitioning, and so about this middle to later part of the week, I think it's great to see that the way we're taking action and the way we're asserting ourselves is certainly shifting. It was definitely much more in the grounding, one step at a time, slow and steady energies of Taurus since all the way back since August, where we had Mars retrograde and then retrograde here in Taurus. But Mars is certainly much more comfortable in Gemini, and so we'll likely notice a little bit of an easier energy to assert, to take action, and to move things forward in our life. Again, slowly though, because it's still early in this lunar month, but the shift there, and in this case, doing so in a way that's inquisitive, learning, curious, and perhaps willing to share and exchange with others. Mars and Gemini can really activate the more cerebral and communicative elements of things, and we can be even quite direct and assertive with our communications, and perhaps wanting to learn and have that fire behind our mind and inquisitiveness. And so great time to express and take action and move things forward in the realm of learning and communication and connecting with our peers or siblings or those of equal status, which is the Gemini energy. But again, all to synergize, all to learn, all to exchange, which is great for these coming weeks here with this placement. All right. Then over the weekend, Saturday, the moon will shift into Taurus. So it will still be just these couple days, Saturday, Sunday, into Monday a little bit, emphasizing the grounding energies of things still. Again, it is still transitioning with Mars anyways. So a good weekend here from perhaps connecting to some nature, maybe a good meal, some relaxations, the enjoyments of life, the comforts of things, practicing gratitude as well. Can be fantastic there over the weekend. And just as a minor note, when it does come to that learning and communication stuff, we could notice perhaps there's some things being healed with this around Sunday. Mercury will be over Chiron, starting the yearly new beginning to all things cerebral and communicative that involve healing in this case. So it could be literally learning about healing itself quite tangibly, or just through learning, through communicating, noticing the healing energy coming through. So great to, either way, like I said, get into some of that anyways, but we could notice a bit of that feeling healed and rejuvenated from doing that, probably later Sunday into next week after that conjunction. All right, everyone. So that is the week in a nutshell. Most important thing is, of course, this new moon and Mars transitioning into Gemini, both very important. But Tuesday, new beginnings to our receptive side, and how to really incorporate all week, really. We see a repeating pattern of how to incorporate the watery, receptive energies of life and the fiery, assertive, and action-oriented energies of life. We want to see if we can align these two, the soul and the ego, the unconscious and the more conscious self, our soul needs and our ego needs, physical self needs, and how to take action yet be receptive, how to go with the flow and take it easy while at the same time move things forward. I think that's a big symbol of this week. But do listen, let the energies be, subtle during the new moon on Tuesday, and slowly build momentum as we go through the week. And and notice a bit of that shift of how we're taking action and asserting ourselves, which is likely going to be much more in that Gemini, inquisitive, interested, and exchanging sort of way. All right, so everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're not yet signed up for MTZ Insiders, it is a free newsletter. We do get these videos released first before YouTube, and extra content not normally released on YouTube. So if you haven't yet signed up, there's a link to sign up down below. But again, have a great one, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.